there needs to emerge, whether it be from the African American community, whether it be from the Liberty Movement, whether it be from any one of these disparate groups, some level of leadership to, and this is an oxymoron, but to control, if you will, the civil disobedience. The civil disobedience should be directed. It should be focused.
Tip of the spear.
Yeah, it should exactly. It should be pointed. It should be on subject. It should be on topic, and it should be brutal. You know, if I have any problem at all with the Occupy folks or the folks from the African American community in their protest this week, is congratulations. You held up traffic at the police department. All right, you inconvenienced a few people. No one cares. Let's take it to the next level.
Yeah.
The next time you're doing a march, do it down Blackstone Boulevard.
Go to City Hall.
Right. Do you think people will care then? If you go right into the seat of entrenched power, because the power elite in this state is not hanging out at the Providence Police Department, if not, maybe for a few minutes a day.
And they're not on 95. That's the regular commuters that they're bothering right there.
Right.
I mean, if they went to City Hall, if those hundreds of people just devoted one day a week to go to City Hall and meet their representatives, they would have. Oh, absolutely. They would make a huge difference.
Well, and I mentioned this to Pat earlier this week. I think the most direct action that any group can take, if you have a problem with what you're seeing as a system that's designed to oppress you, a voter registration drive is the most important thing you can do, because politicians listen to people who vote. They do, Well, and if you get out there and you show that you're a bloc and this is an issue for us, you're going to be taken seriously.
Well, the other thing that has to happen is there has to be some leadership from the African American community. I found it telling this week that I guess Jim Vickers is that the right name? Who's the head of the NAA?
Jim Vincent.
Jim Vincent. I'm sorry.
Jim Vickers is the publisher of Motif magazine.
Okay. Jim Vincent. Wow. Jim Vincent, the head of the NAACP, took affront at these folks. I think Mr. Vincent was more afraid and more cognizant of the fact that he's seemingly becoming irrelevant, and the NAACP is becoming irrelevant in really the political matters of the state. It's telling that there was little or no cohesive reaction from any of the quote unquote mainstream leaders of the minority community to Ferguson, that they all sat on their hands. The last time I think we heard from them was when they were fighting about whether or not the state of Rhode Island should be called Providence Plantations, and as if that ever put a meal on someone's table, or as that ever gave someone political power. They are complete zero. They are a complete no-show. They hold their annual meetings. They hold their annual dinners. They engage in the typical self-admiration and mutual congratulations that older political groups who've lost their bearing engage in. So I actually am more of a favor. I agree with you that political action in a cohesive manner is always important. I just think it's time for more civil disobedience. And I'm the host, so I'm supposed to be the one calming people down. I think people need to get pissed off.
I think you're seeing that. You're seeing that, and as far as Ferguson, I don't think Ferguson is about so much that one particular case, but this entrenched. I mean, it's about the last 400 years of American history. We went from slavery to lynchings to segregation to still discrimination, and largely discrimination ended for many of the groups that came to this country, the Irish, the Chinese, and it just never really has ended for the black community. They've always been the pariahs of whatever area they happen to be in, and I think that I see parallels between the Occupy movement, between the Citizens Climate March. These are people that are taken to the streets in protest of a system that they know doesn't work for them.
Right. And it really never will. It's designed, in fact, to patronize.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Right.
Right.
They're coddled, they're patted on the bum and moved along, and they're used as an object lesson.
Thanks for your votes this election cycle.
Right.
Screw off
exactly.
4 years from now.
Don't let the door be hitting you in that bum on the way out.
Right.
Sir, I find it. I mean, remember when a number of the mainstream politicians, Sheldon Whitehouse, glommed onto the Occupy movement for a few days when it was politically hip, and he thought he might be able to get a little buzz out of it. But neither the tweens. There's these groups need to get mad. You see, working within the system, I love what you guys are doing, because you guys at the Community Response Rhode Island and a variety, we'll talk a minute about the other groups that you're involved in, are doing it. It's a double prong. you're trying to affect change locally through political channels, but you're also not afraid to get pissed off.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to say, before, I don't know how much time we have left, but really one of the biggest goals of the community response group is to get all of the other groups to come together, if we can, under one umbrella maybe, and start working together as a force with a direction. The problem that I'm seeing in Rhode Island is that we have 100 groups, and they're all going in different directions. We can't get any focus. We've tried, lots of different groups over the years. We've been involved with lots of different groups. We decided to start our own group so that we could get a focus. And then what we're going to do is try to network with the other groups to bring some of the leadership from these groups together and have like a think tank where we can actually make a group that works for everybody.
Yeah, and I think this needs to be done on an issue-by-issue basis so we don't get caught up in partisan politics. There's a lot of issues, we were talking about earlier, like this issue, which cross party lines. These are issues where we can bring a lot of people together. An issue at a time, I think, is the way this needs to be handled.
No, I would agree on that. I mean, that's certainly a practical way to do it. And certainly there's a history of that within the state of Rhode Island. I mean, the marriage equality folks were like a laser on it. They focused on nothing but that for a good 10 or 15 years. Now, hopefully this won't take another 10 or 15 years, because what's frustrating about it, in one sense, is that there are so many extra legal objections that can be posed to what is of yours a very common sense theory, while at the same time most of the technology for it could be bought down at the local Best Buy. I mean, it remains to be seen how much will be embraced. And we want you to report back to us how your meeting with Mayor Grebian goes, because by all accounts, Mayor Grebian seems to be a pretty progressive, forward-thinking kind of guy who seems to have taken on a lot of challenges in Pawtucket successfully.
Well, we'll let you know.
And it would remain to be seen, I would imagine, how the police union is going to react to that. But as I mentioned, in one of the more notorious districts in New York City, there's a pilot program about to take place. Where literally just a few months ago, a citizen died in a chokehold, I believe it was in Staten Island, where they're going to employ body cams.
Yeah, we heard about that. There's also in New York the Right to Know Act, which came out as a direct result of the unconstitutional stop and frisk. And what they want to do now, I think it was brought up by two councilmen who were abused or had their civil rights violated in stop and frisk encounters, and basically it would require police to obtain consent for searches, ensuring police are aware of their rights, and it would also require officers to make people aware of their right to refuse searches if there's no legal basis besides consent. So basically they would have to inform you that they don't have reasonable suspicion and then ask you for an identification instead of just demanding, something that they have no right to ask for.
Something like that in Rhode Island would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's a great bill, and I forwarded this actually to Aaron to have him take a look at it.
Interesting. Well, there's the music. We've just got a minute or so left. John, give us a couple of different places that we can find your organization on the web.
All right, well, if you go to Facebook, look for Community Response Rhode Island. It's all spelled out, full words, Community Response Rhode Island. There's also communityresponse.ri.com, which is a website that we're putting together to try and, basically it's going to be like a blog where people can go in and throw in some ideas. And, I actually, myself and a couple of other people do an internet radio show called Northern Prosperity Lawson. You can find us on sovereignradio.com, if you can spell that word sovereign. And if you even know what the definition is, you can come and find out about us. But that's not related to community response. But the biggest place you can find us, if you want to meet us in person, go down to the City Hall when they have the City Council meetings in Pawtucket, and we're usually there. It's usually on Wednesday nights, but they change it around, especially with the holidays. Did you want to add something, Joe?
Yeah, I just want to encourage people not only are we trying to get these body cams into police officers, but we should hold yourself accountable and get your own camera to hold public officials accountable. Get it from your perspective, so it get all directions.
Thanks again, folks, for coming on. Coalition Radio, Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio. We'll see you next week.
Talk and business.